Today, we're looking at a nation that's basically always on high alert. We're going to break down what happened during Japan's recent 7.7 magnitude earthquake, and maybe even more importantly, the incredible and super fast response that followed.
I mean, just listen to this. To get a feel for what it was like on the ground, one person said, "It was really surreal." That quote just puts you right there, doesn't it? That bizarre, unsettling feeling when the world itself starts to move under your feet.
So, what was behind that surreal feeling? Well, it was a massive 7.7 magnitude earthquake that struck under the sea right off Japan's northeast coast. I mean, we're talking about a huge release of energy from deep inside the earth. And that one event, it kicked off a whole chain reaction across the country.
So what did that first moment actually feel like for people? Let's get into those first absolutely critical seconds.
For a lot of people, it didn't start with a huge, violent jolt. It started with just a low rumbling. But then, almost at the same time, this incredible modern defense system just kicks into gear. Emergency alarms start screaming from pretty much every single phone in the area. It's this nationwide system, and it's designed to give people those precious few seconds of warning before the real shaking starts.
Okay, but with an undersea quake this big, the shaking is really just the first part of the problem. The second threat, and honestly the one that's often way more devastating, is the potential for a massive wall of water.
This timeline really shows you just how fast everything went down. At 4:52 p.m. local time, bam, the quake hits. Just minutes later, the country's amazing warning systems are already blasting out tsunami warnings all along the coast. Soon after that, the first waves are actually hitting the shore, and then, thankfully, once the biggest waves were through, those warnings got downgraded. The whole thing was just this incredibly critical hour, and it was all handled with unbelievable speed.
Let's just pause on that number for a second, 7.7. That's not just some abstract figure, right? It represents a mind-boggling release of energy. We're talking strong enough to shake a whole region and move a massive amount of ocean water. To put it in perspective, it's kind of like hundreds of really powerful bombs all going off at once.
And all that water being pushed around, that led to this initial, frankly, terrifying forecast. The Japan Meteorological Agency was predicting waves up to 3 meters. That's about 10 feet high. For sure high enough to cause absolutely catastrophic damage to anyone living on the coast.
But, and this is a big but, here's where the story takes a really fortunate turn. The waves that actually hit were only around 80 centimeters high, so just under 3 feet. Now, don't get me wrong, that's still dangerous, but it is a world away from that 3-meter threat, a huge and very welcome difference between what was feared and what actually happened.
So, that leads to the big question, right? Why was the response so fast, so effective? How does a whole country face down a 7.7 quake and a tsunami threat with that kind of efficiency? Well, the answer, as it so often is with Japan, is buried in its past.
And here's the crucial part. Japan's modern response system is really shaped by the ghost of 2011. That absolutely tragic 9.0 magnitude earthquake and the horrific tsunami that came after. It took more than 18,000 lives. The lessons learned from that day, the hard way, are what led to the systems they have now. Faster communication, more seismic sensors, all of it is built right into the country's DNA at this point.
And this really shows you how detailed their system is. It's not just some single, scary warning that's meant to cause a panic. It's specific. So what do these alerts actually mean when one pops up on your screen?
Okay, so Japan has this super clear 3-level system. At the bottom, you've got an advisory. That's for waves under a meter, and the advice is basically, get away from the coast. Then there's a warning, which is what they issued this time. That's for waves up to 3 meters, and it means evacuate now. And then there's the major warning. That's the worst-case scenario for anything over 3 meters. The whole system is just designed so that everyone instantly knows exactly what to do.
So, the big question is, does it work? Well, this one quote from someone in Hokkaido pretty much says it all. As soon as the alert went off, everyone ran. Just like that. No hesitation, no confusion, the warning goes out and people move. That, right there, is what a prepared public looks like in action.
All right, so now let's talk about the immediate aftermath and what the official advice is for the next few days.
What's really amazing here isn't just what happened, but what didn't happen. I mean, for a 7.7 quake, the impact was incredibly small. Yeah, about 100 homes lost power and they had to stop some bullet trains. But the really critical stuff? No problems at the nuclear plants. And most important of all,
No major damage and no major injuries reported. This is what you get when you invest in being prepared for decades.
But the danger isn't completely gone. Authorities are being super clear about this. The risk of a big aftershock, a smaller quake that follows the main event, is still there for about a week. So people are being told to just stay on their toes, stay vigilant, and have those evacuation plans ready to go.
And that really brings us to the final takeaway here. Japan's systems were seriously put to the test, and you have to say they passed with flying colors. It's just a huge testament to planning and actually learning from the past. And it kind of leaves us with this bigger question, doesn't it? As these kinds of unpredictable events seem to be happening more and more, how ready is the rest of the world for when the unexpected hits?